Excellent. Thank you, Helen. Does everyone know what proportion means?
Yes.
A proportion would be what, everyone? So basically a proportion would be two equivalent fractions, because ratios are fractions, right?
Yes.
Okay. Bubble method. When we do the bubble method, we can now start using what? Okay, we're going to still call it the bubble method, but we are using arrows. If you are asked to prove whether or not two ratios are proportionate. So, for example, we had 2/5 and we had 5/9. We needed to decide if they were equal or not. What did we do to prove whether or not they were equal? What did we find, Lavin? No, they did not see if they can reduce. They can't reduce. We had 2/5 and 5/9. What did we do? How did we prove whether or not they were proportionate, Kelsey? We found a common denominator, and we used 45, yes, no?
Yes.
And then we used our bubbles up here, and we found that 18/45 is the same as 2/5, and 25/45 is the same as 5/9. Are those two fractions equivalent?
No.
So we put a slash for the equal signs, which means they're not equal, right?
Yes.
Okay. 4, same deal. We had 3/8 and 12/32. We found common denominators, and we discovered that they both work out to be 12/32. So are 3/8 and 12/32 equivalent?
Yes.
So we're using common denominators to prove whether or not they're proportionate or not. Hence number 5. Number 6, we're using bubble method, which actually have been replaced by arrows, right, Riley?
Yes.
And we had a ratio of 4/8, and we had a ratio of x over 16, and we need to figure out what x was. So we took what we knew, 8, we went to 16. How did we get from 8 to 16? Multiply by 2. So how are we going to get from 4 to x? And what is 4 times 2?
8.
B is the same idea. C got a little trickier. C got a little trickier in the fact that we had to go from 2 to 7. Is it easy to go from 2 to 7?
No.
Those are very friendly numbers. So what we did is we looked at this ratio to see if we could do what to it?
Reduce.
The 6/2 reduce?
Yes.
So we reduced it to 3/1. Is 3/1 and x over 7, going from the 1 to the 7, are they friendly?
Yes.
So we multiplied by 7, we multiplied by 7, and we got what?
21.
Okay, we're good there. And then when solving proportions, we talked about this quick little rule. If you multiply by a number less than 1, what happens to the number? It gets smaller. If you multiply it by a number that is 1, what happens to the number?
It stays the
And
same.
if you multiply it by a number bigger than 1, what happens to that number?
It gets bigger.
So, number 8. We had 10/7 equals 8/k. Eyes are up here still. We knew that going from 10 to 8 was not easy. They were not friendly. So the first thing we checked to see was if we could do what? Can 10 and 7 reduce? No. So then we're like, okay, well, we have to figure out what are we going to multiply by to get from 10 to 8. And you all know that going from 10 to 8 means you're getting smaller, right? So we're multiplying by a number smaller than what? 1. So we took out our calculators and we said, well, we're going to use our 10 and the 8, because those are the two numbers we're trying to get back and forth between, right? So I took out my calculators and I did 10 divided by 8 equals?
125.
And I knew that was wrong because why?
It's bigger than 1.
Excellent. It's bigger than 1. So like, oh shoot, I reversed it. So then I did 8 divided by 10 and I got, oh, 0.8. That sounds better, right? Because again, I know to go from 10 to 8, I must multiply by a number less than 1. So now that I have that figured out, I even double check. I'm like, huh, is 10 times 0.8 8? And the answer is yep. So I multiplied the bottom by 0.8 and that was good to go, right? Number 9, remember this one? You guys all decided to take like a weird direction to solve. You all realize 36 and 24 are not friendly. So what is the first thing you should always check to do?
Reduce.
And when you reduced it, you got 6/7. 24/r stays the same. Is it easy to get from 6 to 24?
Yes.
And number 10. Is it easy to get from 3 to 4?
No.
So what should you do?
Reduce.
What?
Reduce.
And we were able to reduce to 5 over 1. Is it easy to get from 1 to 4?
Yes.
So what's 5 times 4?
20.
Questions? No questions?
No.